Hello, this is my new hiding spot.
I can see you on the map, you know?
Shh, if I'll be real quiet.
What are you doing here?
Ah, they found me! Hey there! Welcome to my channel. Name is Stringray and I'm the host of the show. Today, I woke up with a sudden desire to share a few thoughts I had the day before yesterday and what came out of them as I was trying to adjust to a new reality. Talking about reality, in my past videos I more than once mentioned my Tenora, and as that may be obvious to my viewers, I tend to rely on my go-to weapon quite a lot. First off, let's set a few things straight. In this video we are going to talk about full auto weapons, the most obvious universal solution to any infested, green or corpus problem you might encounter on a day-to-day basis. We are not talking about beam weapons. For my first year in Warframe, I played so much with Ignis Wraith that I still have trouble removing it from my profile as the most used weapon. So, no Glexion, Amprex, Synapse, or even things like Acceletra, which is quite specific in its use. With these conditions, that leaves us roughly with these. We'll get back to this image quite often, so make sure you put a pause to take a better look each time we go through the details. Ever since the changes in status system as well as changes in the game balance which came with the update 27.2, some of the old and all-powerful weapons I had became weaker. I mean it with all seriousness, my Tenora has less total damage output than my Sigma and Octantis. So, this is the premise for a much needed change, a change in caliber. Let me explain. Mostly I'm talking about the weapon's base damage viability in hitting heavily armored targets, or targets just having a ton of hit points, like Demolists on Disruption. This is the first time I actually had to think about base damage. Why? Because even the infamous mod Hunter Munitions, which a lot of people claim can carry any weapon to the viable category, bases its damage per tick on the base damage of the weapon used to deliver the shots. I won't say my Tenora build or Riven are perfect, but it was adequate and enough to grind down even level 60 Tusk Firbolg in one full magazine using semi-auto firing mode. And look, this is what happens today. And it's not only Firbolgs. The already mentioned Demolists became tougher as well, and the enemies in general also stepped up their game. This means we, my dear viewers, have to adapt as well. On a side note, I don't really like meta solutions. I always try to use my own head first and guides and builds second. It's not only a question of priorities. Chasing meta can be quite expensive at times, so finding old solutions to new problems and vice versa is my game. Going back to the main problem, and it is a problem, yes, the issue lies with our weapon's base damage. It's a question of caliber. If you're a tank warfare enthusiast like me, you probably heard that a lot of main tank cannons were developed in response to rival countries using thicker armor on their respective tanks. It is the same thing in Warframe. Before we go back to our list, a few words on status effects. I don't like status effect system, and I don't like status-only weapons. Oh, I can feel the dislike storm incoming already. But seriously, the whole status idea is either stacking a lot of damage over time with procs, with rapid fire primary, and hoping that the damage over time will do its work when your damage output is no longer viable due to enemies scaling, or having at least 60-70% status chance on the slower firing weapons. That basically means that for status effects to carry you, you need to invest a lot in them. And then don't forget that status is useless against bosses, which is why I'm a crit boy. Critical hits, the bigger the better, is what we need. Let's get back to our weapons now. The stats provided are for the full auto firing modes, with critical chance, multiplier, and status chance for comparison. So, the worst candidates for our new weapon of choice are highlighted in red. Let's go through each one to be eliminated one by one, and I'll explain why. Basically, every gun that is below 20% critical chance or critical multiplier of 2 has to go. This sadly eliminates most of average choices and hybrid weapons, just because we need something centered around critical hits first and foremost. This means Breton Vandal has to go, despite being a favorite of many people. Dera Vandal is out of here as well. The 8% critical chance is a joke. Mutalist Quanta is next. We just included it for the sake of having all of the full auto assault rifles and machine guns. It's pretty obvious why it's bad. Prisma Tetra is going down next. The crit chance is just way too low. As well as Supra Vandal. There was actually some behind-the-scenes debates whether to keep it or not, but we decided not to. Argonac is still bad. I'm surprised it didn't get a Kuva version though. Oh well. Basmo is a hybrid weapon, which is quite specific. The base stats are average, but the highest critical multiplier in the game on the alternate fire mode among the primary weapons is coupled with just 2% critical chance. Not viable in hands of Warframes which do not boost the critical chance in some other way. Fulmin is also eliminated, despite having very good stats. The limited range of full auto fire mode coupled with very low riven disposition make it a rather below average choice for us. Kuva Hind was not made with full auto fire in mind, and it is obvious that it's more of a status weapon in that regard. Again, we're not talking about burst fire or semi-auto modes. Besides, it looks horrible, and there is no skin to remedy the situation. Kuva Quartakk seems okay until you look at its fire rate of 4, nearly 5 bullets per second. The subpar crit multiplier doesn't help as well. Should I even say anything about Quelor in that respect? The crit stats are very bad, and while the gun itself may shine in other areas, in this category it certainly lags behind. The Stalta also has to go, not only because of below average crit multiplier, but because it's in the meta right now and has quite low riven disposition. Not as bad as Fulmin, but still. Tyburn Prime was actually one of the prime candidates to fix the caliber problem, until we looked at the magazine size of 42 and a reload time of 2 seconds. The gun was clearly not meant for full auto without extensive modding in regards to magazine size or reload speed. There was a lot of thought given to it, so we might just keep it on the table on special spot, just for comparison. Zenith, well, it's pretty obvious here. This was a fairly basic sorting, and we have not yet arrived at the problem I was facing with Maginora. The problem of not enough juice! Speaking like a normal person, it just fails to get through the thick skin of certain foes, no matter what mods I'm putting on it. And mentioning disruption again, think about it. It does not only have to deal damage to the foe, it has to do it fast, before the Demolist reaches the conduit. The reason why that happens, again, brings us to the question of caliber. The same reason why we take snipers to kill Eidolons. The single bullet damage against thick or armored foes counts more than a lot of smaller bullets fired consequently. Again, let me remind you, we are not talking about shotguns or semi-auto weapons. That's a whole different area. So if the problem is the base damage, then what do we have? If we consider Tenora as already inferior to the damage demands of the present day, then we can, with at least a degree of certainty, say which weapons can be considered an upgrade, and which are actually even worse at this than Tenora. Kuva Karak is a special case here because despite having less damage than Tenora in terms of base damage, it, being a Kuva weapon, can get an additional elemental damage boost in any element, or even a combined one, up to additional 60%, which may be enough for it to stay in the viable area, and the extra mod capacity certainly adds more adaptability to any builds made with the weapon. So, let's again remove the red ones and take a look at each of the remaining contestants. Tila's Bolter seems to be a superb replacement. Not only it has a better critical stats and more damage, it also much better at crowd control. Where Tenora could unload half of its mag into an already dead foe, who could be basically protecting the enemies behind himself after its own death, Tila's Bolter will simply shoot through the corpse, pinning it to the wall or next foe in line if possible, and dealing its damage of course. Overall, an amazing choice of heavier assault rifle, but a lot will depend on the riven you'll use. Buzzlock looks good at first glance, until you notice the 3-second reload speed. The slightly worse critical chance is offset by 5-star disposition and better crit multiplier. The much worse fire rate is offset by the amazing damage per bullet, the highest among the contestants, and 2.5 times more than my old Tenora. And don't forget about the old fire, which adds a flat additive bonus of 50% crit chance on shots against the marked enemies. Am I the only one thinking this could be amazing against demolists? Still, it is locked behind a relatively small magazine, only 50 bullets, and an obnoxious reload time of 3 whole seconds. Kuva Karak. A great all-rounder, but I would not call it a direct upgrade to Tenora. A lot depends on the riven you are using, and if you max the Kuva Leech bonus damage or not, and what element it is. Personally, I suggest using Cold, because then you can easily control how the bonus damage is used in your build with the mod Primed Cryo rounds. Stardover Prime seems to be our new gold standard, with greater damage and overall stats. However, if you are like me and upgrading from something like Tenora, you might not notice much difference in performance for the effort. However, if you are upgrading from something much smaller in caliber, this is a great choice. Despite its downsides, Tiberon Prime seems to be in on the action, with almost double the damage of Tenora and its multiple different firing modes for any eventuality. However, one cannot simply ignore its subpar critical strike chance in full auto mode, and a pretty low disposition to patch that with a crit riven. The ammo magazine has nothing to give, so rivens with negative magazine capacity are a strict no-no on this one. Much better idea is to patch that magazine size deficiency with a faster reload, be it from a riven property or by using the primed fast hands. So, yesterday I went through the Warframe market auction section in search of a good riven for me, or for one of these weapons, and found this. It wasn't terribly expensive too. Buzzlock is a misunderstood weapon, as far away from meta as possible. That insane disposition was enough to bring critical chance over 100% mark, and with the Vigilante set of mods on my Warframe and Sentinel weapon, I sometimes see even red criticals. The extra reload speed patches the horrible 3-second reload into a more comfortable 1.8 seconds, and additional toxin damage will save me a mod slot for a heavy caliber, or any other damage mod I might want to use, such as bladed rounds or hunter munitions, while still having that sweet combination of either corrosive damage with cold on top, or the meta viral plus heat. I'm still making it, but pretty satisfied with the result so far. As for recoil, well, I guess it's something I'm gonna have to get used to. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and of course, I haven't forgot that primary kit guns are a possibility. If you think they are viable in that regard, don't hesitate to leave your comment and share your preferred parts configuration for it. If you agree or disagree on some points, or if you think there are other things which are important and I didn't mention them, feel free to leave a comment under the video. With the side of the channel right now, I promise I'll read them all. If you like my video, press that like button. If you don't, press the other one. And of course, if you'd like to know when I publish a new video, subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to join our Discord. We are always happy to see more people around. I recently started a Patreon account where you people can help me by making a small donation. The link is in the description. It may be a price of coffee for you, but in my country it will be enough to get food for 3 days. And with the COVID situation, this YouTube channel is the only kind of work me and June can have right now. There are neat bonuses for every tier, but remember, Even if you don't donate anything, you can always leave a comment under the video, write me an email, or join me on my Discord server to discuss things, ask for help, opinions, or just give feedback. Thank you.